Hi guys, so this video is in response to the overwhelming reaction we had to the Team 4 video project submission. So since most of it was made on PowerPoint, I decided to do a demonstration of the different animations that I used and the slide transition effects to make that possible. And before I get into it, I just wanted to let you guys know that you don't really need any kind of IT skills to do these animations on PowerPoint. To be honest, these are all self-taught from undergrad, and my undergrad is in business. So I kind of taught this to myself, like just by exploring the various options on PowerPoint. So really, you just need to have a curious mind and just go into the many tabs on PowerPoint and just explore. And the other thing is, since like I said, I taught these things to myself, none of the things that I show here are like rules of thumbs or anything. I just go into the options and I just use whatever works for me, and they're probably not always the best way to do it. So you need to do your own research.
You need to remember when making a video on PowerPoint. So when I'm talking about slide transition times, typically when you're doing a presentation in person, you want the slides to change when you click or when you press space. But in a video, you don't want that to happen. You want it to go off at a particular time, depending on your content. So to do this, what you would do is go into transitions, and you would, at which you want the slide to change, and you would hit tick button over there, and you would untick the mouse click. So why is that? Why do you need the slides to go off at particular times? So if you go under File, and when you try to export the actual video, here you see that slides that don't have any timings on them, it will change automatically after 5 seconds, and you might not want that. You might want the slide to go on until the content on that slide is finished. So it's very important that you adjust the slide timing via transition. So an example of like adjusting slide transition times, so this is one of the videos of Ashwin talking.
In the deployment phase, we'll ensure that the target gaming platforms are analyzed, and we will develop the gameplay for each platform.
So that's how long he talks. It's 10 seconds. So typically what I would do is I would add 2 to 4 seconds to it, 2 seconds at the front and 2 seconds at the back, so that the slide kind of has a smooth transition, otherwise it will be too abrupt. If I go into Ashwin's content slide, this slide here, and if I go under transitions, you'll see that I added 1 second at the front and 1 second at the back. So when I put the whole thing into Premiere Pro, I had that 2 seconds of time which I could use as leverage in case I needed some time to kind of put in anything at the beginning or at the end, or to just make it more smooth. The other thing you need to remember is about embedding fonts. Go under File, go to your options, and then under Save, you need to take this box and click on this. So what it does is, when you're sharing your file with other people, what typically happens is the font will break up, or when you're making a video, the font, it looks horrible on screen. But when you have this setting on, it makes sure that the font is not breaking up. So now we get to the fun part. So using GIFs and videos on slides. Now this was the format that for the video that I used for most of the headings. Right now it's what you see is just an image, but when you go into presentation mode, it's magic, but it's not. What this is a GIF image. So what I did is I just went on to Google, and I just put in a search for tech background GIFs, and I just chose the one that best fit my purpose. What I did is I right-clicked, copied the image, and then I just pasted it on there. So this slide was the same. The Kanban recording we had was actually a GIF image. Another way you can do this is by getting a recording, a screen recording. So this was given by Elaine. So she did a screen recording of codecs for our project management. I just went to insert and chose the video from my file. If you don't want the whole video, what you would do is you click on the video, and there's this option comes up. So you go under playback, and you need to choose this to go off automatically. But for me, the better way to do it is to go under animations and go to animation pane, and there it is. This is because when you have other animations, you want to make sure that they're going off like in the right time. If I had another animation, if I just add an animation to this, so I would have to drag this before the codec playback, and I would have to put it on after previous. And then when I go into slide mode, we see that came in first, and then this started playing off, which brings us to our next bit, which is about simple entrance animations. Previously we saw how this one came up and then this went off at the same time. So I will show how I did that here. So if you try to do the animations one by one, it's gonna make your animation pane look crazy. So you don't want that to happen. You will typically group them together so that you can add animation to the whole thing as an object. So you can do this by right-clicking, going to group, or just pressing Command G or Control G. So now that I've grouped it together, I will add the entrance animation, and I used random bars for this one. And since I wanted to go off automatically right after the slide changes, I will put it after previous. So now if I go on here, it did it on its own. And then this one, I made it appear letter by letter. So the way I did it is I first added the animation fade, and then in the animation pane there is this arrow button here. So you would click on that, go under effect options, and then instead of all at once, you would make it go by word or by letter. So in my case, I wanted it to go by letter, but like this is way too slow for me. So if I press OK, that is just way too slow. So I'll go back here, go under effect options, and I'll change it to 3. So that makes it go faster. And of course I want it to come up right when this one comes up. So instead of after previous, I'm gonna put it as with previous. So now if we go back, they came out at the same time. So this one here was also mainly just entrance effect. So I first made these shapes, and then I animated them to go off after each other. And this arrow was also from shapes. So I'll just show you how I did that. So I have a blank slide here. I'll insert, go under shapes, and there it is. So I'll press Ctrl and Shift when I'm doing this. What this does is it centralizes and then lets you drag out proportionately. So if I let go of Shift and Ctrl, so this is what happens. So when I'm pressing Shift, it makes it proportionate, and when I'm pressing Control, it centralizes it. So there it is, and then this format option comes up automatically. I will keep this fill color the same. I'll keep it as green. The outline, I'll make it white, and I'll make it a bit thicker, and then you can just randomly write stuff on it. The other shape I had was this one here. Again, Control Shift, and there it is. Now, so again, change the shape outline to white and weight to 3. This time I'm rotating the shape and bringing it down here, and then just adjusting the size so that it looks nice, like it's one object. And because I rotated this, if I try to write something on it, that's what's gonna happen. So instead, I'm gonna insert a text box and put it on top of it. So now when I write stuff on it, it's gonna be the right way up. So what I'll do is I'll click on, like holding down Shift, I'll click on all 3 objects, and then I'll group them together using Ctrl G, or you can go under like right click and then use the group option. Then what I did is I used the animation and made it fade appear, and it will obviously have to go off at a certain time, so I put in after previous, and then I can make it delay and adjust the time. So typically I would want all the shapes to be of the same size, so what I would do is just Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So I still have the same animation on it, but it's going off after each other. But I would obviously change the color of the object. So going under Format, so I'm clicking on that object within the group, going under Format and changing the shape fill color. I'll have to do this for both the objects. So now if I go on to, yep, it happens after each other. So copying and pasting is a good idea because it keeps your shape similar, it keeps the editing similar, and you don't have to do it over and over again. That is something I also did for these text boxes. I wanted them to have the same font format, the same animation, timings, so I kind of copy pasted them on each slide, or even just duplicated the whole slide. So if I copied this, Ctrl C, go to a different slide, Ctrl V, it will still be the same animation. So that's a thing that will make your life easier. Now we're going to look at how we can highlight information and add multiple animations to the same object. So this is one of the crazier slides I had with the animations. So I wanted to like highlight this part when Krunal talks about small teams, and then all of these where we receive feedback. If you look at the animation pane, this is a typical example of the crazy that you have when you don't group your objects together. So let me show you how I did this from scratch. So first I inserted a shape, which is the round shape, and then centralize it, Control Shift, press, drag out, and then I changed the shape fill to red and no outline, and I want it to be transparent so that I can see through it. So for additional options other than what's already here, what you would do is go to Format Shape. I'll close the animation pane for now, and then you increase the transparency and you adjust it to how much you want it to be. There it is. So first I need this circle to come up automatically, so that is an animation. I'll close the format shape and bring up animation pane. So first I need it to appear, so I press appear. Instead of starting on click, because I want to automate when it comes up, I press after previous, and then I would put in the delay time, like when I would want it to come in. So if, for example, Krunal talked about small teams 2 seconds into his presentation, then I would put in as 2.00, that's 2 seconds. So when I press enter, now if I go here, it comes up after 2 seconds, and then I needed it to pulse. So I needed the audience to kind of look at that. So if I try to do a pulse straight from here, it will make this initial animation to go away. Place it with this. So if I click on this, so the other animation is gone and it's replaced by this. This is what I don't want to happen. So Control Z to go back. I still have the appear animation on there, and instead of just adding an animation here, which you can't, you press on add animation and then go under here to color pulse. So it's on mouse click, but I'll put it after previous, so after it appears. So now if I go here, it comes up and then it pulsed, but it was a black pulse. So I'll change the color. So go under the arrow button again, go under effect options and choose I chose golden. You can also do this here, effect options, golden. And I want it to pulse twice, so what I can do is I can add a pulse again, put it after previous, there's a second pulse, and change the color to golden. So there it is, but then it stays there. So I'll also have to add an exit animation, which is disappear, and I need it to happen after the previous. So let's look at that now. So now I'll have to do the same thing but for the smaller ones. So I'll copy paste the shape and I'll make the shape smaller so that it fits the smaller ones. And the mistake I made before is, as you can see here, so what I should have done is I should have deleted all the animations and then just copy pasted all the small circles first. Yep, and then I should have just grouped them together so that it becomes one object. So now that I have grouped that, I'll make it appear first, again after previous, but then I'll give a delay time to when Krunal talks about the feedback, and then add animation, same thing again, pulse, but after previous. So because I grouped it as an object, it's not letting me do a color pulse. And I won't do a double pulse because this one's dramatic enough. So you just have to figure these things out as you go and just use whatever works best for you. And of course I need it to disappear after, so I'll use the disappear option, but after previous. So now we're going to look at motion paths. This is actually one of my favorite animations. So this is one of the slides where I used a motion path. So first the icon appeared, and then that appeared, and then you have the motion path. So these icons are actually from Flat Icon, and it's completely free. You just need to put in attribution. So flaticon.com. So let me move that aside. So this one and this one you need to appear together. So holding down on shift, you selected the two, Control G, and you need it to appear. So go to animation, use the fade. I like fade more than appear, to be honest. Make it appear after previous, but make sure you put in the delay time so that it comes up when you want it to come up, depending on your video timing. Then I drag this one here. Again, I need it to appear first before it does the motion path. So first press fade and click after previous. So going into slideshow mode, both of those appeared. And then I'll add animation, which is the motion path. So if you're not satisfied with what's already on here, you can go to more motion paths. So I kind of tested a few, and I really liked the one that I had put in, which is teardrop. And when you choose it, it does a preview. So let me choose something else so that you can see. Yeah, that's one of the crazier ones. You don't want to make it too crazy. Doing the teardrop. Oh yeah, it was the teardrop one. So that's a really nice one. So you need to like test out a few and choose the one that works for you and looks nice. Nothing too dramatic that will make your audience laugh instead of go ah, you know. So let me show you one of the more complicated two slide combo animation that I did, and it uses exit, motion path, and highlight combo. So that disappeared, then this came up, it went there, and then we have all of this appearing, and then there's the highlight. So it's actually using two different slides. So in this slide, what I did is I made all of these disappear except for just the production bit. So if I go into animation and animation pane, you can see that all of them disappeared except for this one, which doesn't have any animation. That's all that this slide did. And then I copy pasted, I duplicated this slide, but remember how in this slide everything else disappeared? So in this slide I had to delete all of those other objects first. So it was just the purple one. And then what I did is I used the motion path. So now that it's I've selected that object, you can see the motion path here. I used the line and made it go to the left, which is what we see here. So it just went to the left. And then I made these boxes appear, one after the other, and I used the wiped option with the effect option from left. And then I grouped these together, each of these columns are grouped. And I made it wiped down, but this time with previous, so that they appear together and just fall down. And finally I kind of highlighted these. So I copy pasted these 6 boxes and changed the color of the object to red. So if I drag this object out, you can see that these are actually 6 copy pasted objects grouped together that appear, and that kind of looks like it got highlighted. So there are lots of ways to do it. Like you can use color pulse, you can use it like this, and made this appear at the same time. So let's previous. So when I highlighted the red, it's also talking about working on that these highlight is where I'm gonna work on product backlog and improvements. This is something I really wanted to talk about making meaningful animations. So it's all good like wowing your audience, but at the end of the day, if your animations are not, providing any value, then there's no point of it. So this is one of those animations where if you go back to the video, you'll see that when Elaine talks about the USP and how these three things kind of can improve the USP, and how we were having issues with these, but using research we can improve those. So I wanted to kind of make graphics that makes sense of it all by providing something visual, which is easier for the audience to kind of understand. So you need to always think about what can make it easier, like how is my animation providing any value. Another one of the more meaningful animations we did was this one, where Ashwin kind of talks about giving the customer multiple designs to choose from, and then the customer gives feedback on which design he wants, and then he's satisfied, and then they start to prototype. So this one also uses kind of multiple effects, but I think you get the idea now. I won't go into details. Yeah, so it's all about making the animations meaningful so that your audience kind of understands the concept better. That's what it's all about, to be honest.
So thanks for watching. I hope that was informational and that you learned something from it. If you have any questions or comments on how I can do things better, you can leave it in the comments section. And if you want to see other content or want to learn anything new, you can just let me know and I'll try my best to kind of make another video maybe. Thanks. Bye.